Hello, everyone. Many thanks for your attention and your interest in my brief talk now. And many thanks, of course, to the organizers for their really great job. How can we give museum visitors a glimpse behind the scenes? This was my main question into the former abstract from 2020, and I could use it again for 2021, but a bit in a different sense. With this paper, I'd like to present you some insights into the beta version of a virtual exhibition, which includes a sample library. Before the pandemic, the intention to create this virtual exhibition was to present the work and results of a research group. Next to conference talks and publications, such an exhibit should reach a wider public. In our case, was the aim also to strengthen the bridge to a museum's collection and exhibition. Also today, we have these aims or tasks, but as you all know, during the pandemic, the view and importance of digital tools and virtual presentations came intensively into the focus for research institutions and universities in general, but also for museums. The importance of digital initiatives of museums changed from the often being a useful embellishment to the status of being the science of the only showpieces of the institutions if the museums were closed during last months. The variety of formats and creativity has been huge. My impression is there were fewer restrictions for formats or using standards. The main aim was to stay in contact and to find opportunities for communication, to share ideas, knowledge, materials, music. Now, when most of the museums are open again, what will happen with all these ideas and experiments? Will their importance be equal to exhibitions and presentations in presence? The case study that I'd like to present you now is the virtual exhibition of the research group Materiality of Musical Instruments. The group was hosted from 2016 to 2020 at the Deutsches Museum in Munich in Germany, and it was funded by the Leibniz Association. As the museum's music team is working for the permanent exhibition, we developed this presentation to A, present our different projects to a wider public, B, to add more information to some instruments which will be on display in the later permanent exhibition. For example, as you can see here, an early glass harmonica, the so-called Helmholtz piano by Steinway, to the Trautonium and music by Oskar Sala, and to the collection of piano rolls. C, the third intention is to give the visitors a glimpse behind the scenes, because we present also instruments which will stay into the depository. Very briefly, I also would like to present you the team. Some of you might know some members of this research group. Here you can also see the fellows and cooperation partners. The exhibition I was curating focuses on the glass instruments of the Deutsches Museum. 6 instruments that are either made of glass or have glass components illustrate the astonishing variety of sound production methods available for this material. The instruments are a glass plate piano from the early 19th century, a set of musical glasses from around 1900 and made in Bohemia, a natural trumpet dates to the beginning of the 20th century. There's also a conical 3-part transverse flute, probably from the 1860s, and 2 glass harmonicas, an early example from around 1800, and a modern version from Gerhard Finkenbeiner in Massachusetts, built in 1983. The virtual exhibition offers information about the instruments, music examples, videos, and opportunity to play the instruments with a computer keyboard. And there's an extra exhibition about non-destructive material measurements made by a colleague from the Conservation Science Department to learn more about the different types of glass. The instruments were played and recorded for the virtual exhibition with conservatorial care. We recorded musical pieces as well as single tones in different dynamics if possible. The single notes served as the basis or the material for the sample library. Professor Christoph Reuter and his former student Claudio Albrecht, you can see them here on the left, from University of Vienna, created these virtual displays and enriched them with many details about the sound characteristics of the instruments. Let us briefly stay here on the flute page. Here you have the opportunity to compare the sound of the glass flute, played here by our colleague Rüdiger Hermann, to compare this sound with the sound of a wooden flute. Rüdiger played both instruments. Let me briefly play some bars of Mozart, first on the glass flute. And now on a wooden flute from the late 19th century. As I said, the public or the users can play the instruments with the computer mouse as well as with the computer keyboard. As it is a beta version, we have to switch to the German version now with a sample library. I hope we can very soon offer the English version too. Let us have a look to the trumpet. While playing the computer keyboard, starting at A, S, D, F, and so forth, you can control the dynamics with a comma or dot for piano, forte, mezzo forte, and the arrow keys regulate the playing style, the articulation, allowing you to choose between legato and staccato. Let me play some sounds, some notes. The condition of the instruments is reflected in the individual tones and measurement results. While playing single tones, you get information about the frequencies affecting the instrument's timbre, about the formants and other parameters like brightness, roughness, or attack time of the tone. Also here you can get more information about the sound characteristics. The aim is to offer data for musicologists. Let me switch here. for further research, but also to learn more about the sound of glass in general. The sound analysis of the glass instruments show corresponding results. They all have a high spectral center of gravity. They sound like glass, of course, but there are also differences. The glass plate piano is a percussion instrument, while the glass harmonica and the musical glasses are bowed with the hands. As a result, the sound of the musical glasses is less percussive, while the glass plate piano, on the other hand, sounds more like a champagne glass being struck at an event. The public is invited to make their own experiences. Coming back to my introduction, I will end up with the hope that in our case, the virtual exhibition will find its way into the main exhibitions, into the museum, so that people might explore the collection behind the scenes and learn more about the research work, which also takes place into the museum. Others will only visit the virtual exhibition. I think our view on these virtual projects has changed during the last months. We use it for granted now. People are more familiar with this variety of formats. 10 minutes are a brief time, so I have to end here, and let me say many thanks again for your attention, and I'm looking very much forward to the discussion now. Goodbye.